Good morning dear friends and good morning my students. So in the textbook Springs we have got unit number 3 as On Children, and this unit is written by Khalil Gibran. So Khalil Gibran is a Lebanese and an American artist poet, and this man is a philosopher as well. Let's see what types of questions were answered by him when he has to aboard a ship. Different topics were selected by the people who are curious enough to seek answers from him. Among them, one such answer was this poem for us. The poet has written the Prophet, and that particular Prophet collection contains number of poems. Among them, we have got for our present study On Children. This Prophet collection has been translated into more than 40 languages including Kannada. The speciality of Khalil Gibran's poems are they are not in the usual versifications, they are called as poetic essays. So this is one of the elements which have to be remembered by us. Here in this poem we come to know that a mother asks about the baby who is in her bosom, and she questions the Prophet how to bring up the children. In this poem we are going to see the usual expectations of the parents about the children, and vice versa. We can see here the responsibilities of parents towards children. As we know that most of the students love to obey the words of parents. In the same way, parents feel that their children are their wealth and they have to manage and maintain them so that they can have a wonderful lives as well. How to make our children to have wonderful lives? How to make our children to possess the colorful side of life? The poem here projects maximum things which are the responsibilities of parents towards children and how to introspect their actions towards children. Here we are going to see a critic of the usual expectations of the parents and urges the parents to introspect them. This is the key element which has to be found from the poem On Children. So Khalil Gibran, when he tries to portray the words, portray the lines, we know that he is the philosopher, and that philosopher answers the question of a mother who carries a babe against her bosom, and she questions him, speak to us of children, speak to us of children. Then Khalil Gibran went on with his answer, and the whole answer or the total answer was explained in terms of poem here. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters who are born for life's longing itself. The first line makes the parents to aware that most of the parents are going to develop a sense of attachment, but poet says that the sense of detachment has to be developed from the children. They should be the facilitators, and they have to give their children only love, affection, intimacy. So these are the things which are the raw materials which should be provided by the parents towards the children to see their heights of success according to the poet. In the first two lines, the poet says that a sense of detachment is important to bring up the children, which is not possible for us in the modern days. We expect many things from the children. In the same way, they are going to expect from us. But poet, in these lines, he says this. Further, the poet says that they come through you, but not from you. You may be responsible for their birth, even though they are not born for your intentions. They are born for life's interest. That's why the parents must know this, and they have to develop the sense of detachment. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts. The poet continues to say that the parents can provide only love, but their thoughts should not be given to the children, because for they have their own thoughts. The children are possessed with their thoughts. That's why you should not pour into their heads your own thoughts, and only affection has to be given. You may house their bodies, but not their souls. Children can be given the shelter in the house, and we should feel that they are with us, yet they not belong to us. So this has to be remembered. You may house their bodies, but not their souls here refers to. The parents can provide all the amenities. Even in spite of this, they couldn't have control over the minds of their children, because their minds are going to reside in tomorrow's house. That was explained in the next line. For their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. So this is what the poet says. The dream house of the children, will lie in tomorrow, and such dream house of the children may never be visited by the parents, even in their dreams, indicates that you cannot have control over the imagination, skills and the potency of the child, but your work is only to support them and see their success by providing them affection and love. Further, the poet says that you may give them, you may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. See, if possible, parents, their responsibility is to change like their children, but they should not change their children like them, because he gives the reason. For life not goes backward nor tarries with yesterday. So life never moves back nor stays in yesterday. That's why we have to change under the changing circumstances which are helpful for our children. In this way, we have to bring up the children. This is what he suggests to the mother in particular, and in general to the parents. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. So parents have to support the children. How have they to support? The living arrows are none other than the children. The bows must be the parents, and they must support the living arrows so that they can reach their destination. Here we will see that archer who is going to use that bow, and the living arrows are sent towards their destination. For this particular work, the support from the parents must be like that of the bow. The archer sees the path upon the infinite, and he targets the children towards their targets. And if the bows are going to be very strong, then the living arrows can reach their destination. So this was explained in the last lines. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. The archer puts the target for the living arrow, and he uses the bow. The bows have to be very strong, and meanwhile they have to be flexible, because they have to be bent under the strength of, under the arms of the God. Hence the living arrows can go and reach the destination. So this is what the poet feels. At last the poet says in this poem that God, who is the archer, who loves both the arrows and living arrows, who loves the bows and living arrows alike. So this is what we have to know from this poem. And in this poem, the introspection of the parents are important. The actions which were taken by them towards their children. In the previous video of unit number 2, that is of 2 deer, we have seen that the Prince of Monaco has got suggestions from the members, and that's why he has converted the death sentence into one of the life's imprisonment because of two important reasons. And first and foremost reason is that it would be cheaper, and second reason is that people will consider him as a merciful king. When he has converted the death sentence into one of the life's imprisonment, then he has to face a problem, and the itch was that there was no permanent prison in that kingdom to keep the criminal who was for life's imprisonment. There was a temporary prison where people were kept temporarily. The people who were there in that kingdom were peaceable, which was well known to us. That's why there were less crimes in that kingdom. Because he has got a temporary prison, there he has fixed him, and in that prison he led his life. And the special thing is that he has been provided food from the king's palace kitchen. Apart from that, a guard was placed to fetch the same for him. In this way, 1 year has passed, and after 1 year, when king was going through the accounts, he comes to know that there was a new expense which was arisen due to the maintenance of the criminal and the guard. Meanwhile, his food was also expensive. It was 600 francs per year. That's why they felt that it has been an added expenditure which has to be reduced, and it is too costly enough to maintain the criminal as well. And this criminal was too young, and he could further live for 50 more years. This was the real tense of the king. Then he once again commissioned all the members, and he put forth the question, can they find out the cheaper way to punish the criminal? Because he has to just spare 600 francs every year for the maintenance of the criminal. He has repeated the line, the criminal was too young and he could live for 50 more years. So all the members who were there in that commission, they thought that the only way to get rid of this particular criminal was to remove the guard. One of the ministers suggested this in the commission. When the minister said they have to remove the guard so that they can reduce the expenses of maintenance of the criminal, immediately there the other minister said that if we remove the guard, the criminal would run away. Then the first minister who suggested to remove the guard, he said that let him run and hang to himself. Then only we can be away from the maintenance of the criminal. This is how they had the plan, and they put forth the prince, and prince agreed to remove the guard. When the guard was removed, all the people who were there in that particular kingdom expected that the criminal would run away. But the reality was quite different, and it was against the expectations of the ministers, judges, jurymen, and even the prince. When the guard was removed, then the criminal was awaited there with lot of time, with lot of patience. But when nobody has come over there, he comes out of that prison. He found that there was no guard. He directly goes to the palace's kitchen. There the people have provided him the food, and that has been consumed by him. He comes back and locks him up once again in the prison and sits over there, which shocks all of them. They thought that because it was night, he couldn't go out of the prison and run out of the prison. Still they were awaiting for the chance. But when in the morning the same thing was repeated, then the prince once again called all the members and he asked what to do. Then they said, Now they have to go directly to the criminal and they have to inform that they couldn't bear him for longer time. That's why he has to go out of the prison on his own. One of the minister who goes to the criminal and says like this, the king didn't mind, you can go out of the prison. Why are you still sitting over there in the prison? Then the criminal said for the first time in this unit, and he speaks out. He narrates that I know king wouldn't mind because I have been ruined by your sentence. My life has been collapsed. I may not have any other ways to earn my living. I have lost the skill of working. The people will turn their backs the moment when they will see me. So these reasons were given by the criminal for not going out of the prison. The moment when you have given the death sentence, you might have done it. The moment when you have given the death sentence, you might have carried forward it, but you didn't do. Then I didn't question you. You have converted the death sentence into one of the life's imprisonment. Then also I didn't say a single word. Even you have now removed the guard who is going to bring me the food. Yet I didn't ask you a question. But right now you ask me to go out of this prison, which is impossible. I may not go because it is not right. You have ill-treated me. So these are the reasons which were given by the criminal for not going out of the prison. At last the prince was tensed and once again he called a meeting there. And in that meeting they thought that there was only one way to get rid of the criminal, and that way was to provide him the pension, and the pension was fixed by them 600 francs per year. And when this pension was announced to the criminal, then the criminal happily said that yes, now I am ready to go out of this prison. Usually the governments are going to place the orders, but here in turn, the criminal puts a condition to the government. The condition is that the pension for him has to be provided regularly. Only on that condition, he is ready to quit the prison. Even the criminal was given 1/3 of his annuity in advance, and he takes that amount. He travels just 15 minutes by train, and he crosses the frontier. There he purchases a bit of land, and with market gardening he led his life happily. And thereafter at every right interval he comes to the prince's kingdom. There he collects his money, and he even goes to the gaming houses. He plays there with 2 or 3 coins or 2 or 3 francs as well. On many occasions he wins the money, and on many occasions he may lose, but he led a happy life when he comes out of the prison, just by maintaining the market gardening. He has done the crime in such a kingdom where the king may not have the dare enough heart to take the decision, even though he has taken the right decision, but the decision was not implemented by him. That's why he was lucky enough to be survived. And this is what we have to know, how the things are going to become too expansive in our lives when someone's suggestions are taken as our decisions. And this has to be remembered. And Leo Tolstoy continuously argues that the people who are going to listen to someone's suggestions and turns them as their decisions are going to be costly in their lives. Thank you very much.